Are you worried about leaving your money to your kids and then blowing it on bad investments or even worse, drugs, alcohol, and partying? If so, you gotta watch this video. All right, today we have a controversial topic. It has to do with inheritance and giving. Why is this a big deal? I've been sitting with some friends from different walks of life over the past couple of years, and I've heard lots of different explanations and theories. One of them is, I'm gonna give all my money away because I don't wanna screw up my kids. And then you have others that say, I want to give my money to my kids so that it gives them the opportunity to have another step up with their life and success. While I have my own personal opinion, I thought I would examine the facts and try to come to a better conclusion, and I want to share that with you today. In the process of doing this, why does it matter? Because most people sit back and think that Bill Gates and Warren Buffett and Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, all these mega billionaires, what are they going to do with their money? I'm not like them. However, we're more like them than you think. In America today, we have 5.5 million millionaires. That's a lot of money, and that's a lot of people with a lot of money. That represents 2% of the people. The thing is we're talking about people end of life. So when we're looking at end of life, with the average person in the United States living to their mid-70s, the population density of people with $1 million or greater is actually much higher than 2%. And if we want to look at how the United States is composed, state by state, that number varies a lot. California, Texas, and Florida, some of the largest states in the country, you have 8.5% of the people, so almost 1 out of every 10 persons in California is a millionaire. Texas is 6.3%, Florida it's 5.9%. It gets really high when you look at New Jersey and Massachusetts, which are almost 10%. So 1 out of every 10 persons is a millionaire. So you sit back and say, why am I not a millionaire? Well, a lot of us watching this video are probably in our 20s and 30s and 40s and just haven't gotten there yet. But when you take a lifetime of earning and saving, putting into a retirement account, buying a home and having that home appreciate in value, at some point in time, many of us are going to become millionaires. And so when we do that, now we do have a moral dilemma of what do we do with our money when we pass away? So let's first examine the argument of, I'm gonna give all my money to charity. If you do that, there's some things that come along with that. So first of all, I think everybody should give as much as possible. And I challenge you to give as much as possible to churches, to charities, to those less fortunate than you. But as we examine that, let's say you're sitting on top of a large nest egg because you saved well, you were an entrepreneur that was very successful in life, your pension did very well, your home appreciated in value. If you take that money and give it to a charity or your church, for instance, you have to understand that a lot of that money is not going to go to resources. While charities are most often very beneficial to the society, you have to understand that they have high overhead costs. And so a lot of times the programming dollars that you get doesn't trickle down the way you would expect. Doing some research, the average of 20 to 35% of every dollar going into the charities nationwide gets used for staff salaries and overhead expenses, meaning 80 to 65% goes to programming. So that's great that that goes to programming. And then if you look at churches, that percentage is even higher. Churches are in the realm of 10 to 55% go to staff and overhead. However, oftentimes the mission of the church is the church itself, and they're not programming outside of that. So the function of the money keeping the church in place is the value of the dollars going into that. But nevertheless, if you sit back and analyze a one-time gift of say $5 million to your charity of your choice, instead of giving it to your children, that money only serves a purpose one time. It may be put into an endowment that gets stretched out over time. However, you and your heirs no longer have control over it. Now, if you were to take that money and give it to your children in the form of a trust or a foundation, and you have done a good job of teaching your children to be responsible with money, and they've demonstrated through their life that they make good choices and they've learned the lessons and the value of money, put that money in their control, even if the intention is not for them to use it, but to use it to do good. Because those children, your heirs, at that point in time, now have the ability to give the money over a period of time, watch it grow. They can give the growth of it instead of just giving the principal of it away. And they can continuously give in the honor of you and your family that earned the money and in the name of your family moving forward. As charities change, the needs of societies change, giving your children the power to give on your behalf allows your money to go much further. The common myth among a lot of people is wealth will screw up your kids. Wealth is going to mess them up because they're not going to know how to process and utilize that money. However, if you think about it, what is the average age of an heir? So when you look at the United States, the average age of an heir in the United States is 51 years old. So we're not talking about the 22-year-old kid that gets $50 million and has nobody to guide him and nurture him and teach him how to use that money. You're talking about grown families. By that time, they probably have kids in college or maybe even out of the home. So it's a different demographic than what you see in Hollywood with the 20-year-old kid that got 50 million or $100 million. So when you sit back and you start thinking, what would a 51-year-old do with that money? Well, that money in regards to a 50-year-old, it could be life-changing. At that stage in the life of most of us, when we start to approach 50, our kids are going into college, we have a home, we're all well established in our jobs. If we're entrepreneurs, we've already started our business and it's usually established itself. So that money gives those people the opportunity to propel themselves forward. And if there's anything that every parent is universal about, is they want their children to succeed greater than them. So if you truly want your children to succeed better than yourself, why not give them every advantage available? When we try to figure out how much money is going to be left to these heirs that are average of 51, how many people are born to each family in a given year? The current rate of people to be born per woman in the United States is 1.6 children per woman. So if you sit back and you even average that up a little bit to 2 children per family, and each one of these 5.5 million people in the United States are leaving at least $1 million to the heirs, that means they're leaving $500,000 to each person. So again, if that person is on average 51 years old, the likelihood of them blowing it all on drugs and extravagant expenses and then turning up and becoming destitute because they burned up their own savings goes down. And we're also not talking about a tremendous amount of money at $500,000. While it is a lot, once you grow up and you're established, $500,000 isn't going to be life-changing, but it will become life-benefiting. If it's not transparent enough after my comments so far, I would say my opinion is this: give your gifts to your children and have them carry your legacy on. After all, you raised them. They should be a reflection of you and your values. And if you still have fears that your children may make bad decisions with the money that you give them, that may be a reflection on the values you taught them or did not teach them well enough. And while you're still alive, you have an opportunity to correct any of those errors you made. None of us are perfect. I know I need to teach my children a lot. My goal is to live to be 100. But if the Lord takes me and hits me with a bus 6 weeks from now, I want to make sure my children are as well off as humanly possible, and they have every opportunity and advantage of taking the resources that I've earned in my lifetime to springboard them into the successes they could have in life if they're not spending all of their time gearing up, saving money, just to have something at the end, but not be able to utilize it to its best potential. So thanks for taking the time to listen to my opinions. I'd love to see what your thoughts are on the matter. So if you would leave a comment below, I would love to see if you think that we're aligned in our ideas, or if I'm missing something and I need to get a different perspective of it. If you like our video and our perspective on things, please like and subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you on the next round.